absolutely love that intro.
Hello spooky bats and welcome back to my YouTube channel, or if you're new here, hi and welcome. My name is Orphea and I'm a god YouTuber from Belgium, and if you want to see weekly videos by me, then feel free to subscribe. In today's video I want to talk about 10 things that I have learned in over 10 years as part of the god scene. Recently on Facebook I got notifications of god parties, god events that I attended about 10 years ago. So I thought this was the perfect moment to sum up 10 things that I have learned from being part of the god scene here in Belgium. The first one that I really want to emphasize is that your look does not define you. So your look does not define whether you are god or not. And that's something that, especially in the early stages of entering the god scene, I know a lot of people are very self-conscious about, because they don't have the brand items, they don't look a particular way yet, and they need to just grow into it. And that's something that I had to do as well. In the early stages when I went to god events, I just wore black all-stars, and then I would wear like those socks that you have that you can put over shoes, and I would also just be wearing black clothing, so black top with a black mini skirt and stuff. So I would wear black clothes, but my clothing was by no way actual god brand clothing. So honestly, the way you dress doesn't matter. It doesn't make you god or not god. It's just a way to express yourself.
The whole bit about your look does not define you is so true. It doesn't. You could still wear like whatever you want and be goth. You don't have to take an exam. You just have to decide that you like that stuff. And no one can force you to dress any way you want or don't want. So she's completely right.
And then we get to the second thing that I've learned, which is really the most important one, is that music unites the god scene. Music is the most important thing about the god scene. It is what makes it that you can talk to literally anyone at a party, because the music is the united factor of those events. Without music, the god scene would not exist. And there is a lot of different types of music in the god scene. And of course, you're going to sometimes have people with different opinions than you or different tastes than you. But that's normal. And as long as you are just open to listen to what they have to say and not judgmental, I think you'll be fine. Because when I started, the god music that I personally liked was the electronical based god music. It's only over a few years that I started hearing bands that I liked into the more new wave genre. It wasn't something that I initially started with, but it is how most people who have been part for the god scene for a long time have come in contact with into god. So you have to understand that there might be different influences, different people coming from different styles, but we all merge together into a happy god family, or at least that's what I hope it is, and what it is to most people, or at least in real life.
Music is the most important thing about the goth scene, but it is also the most fought over thing in the goth scene. That's not a goth band, that's not goth, that's not goth. And basically people can be bitches about it, or people can be really cool. So it depends who you're talking to. Because I've seen fights start about this, like physical fights start over that's not a goth band, fucking bullshit. So where the music can be a thing where you go, oh man, I like that band, oh I like that band too, yeah! Like, it's not always the case with goths. Goths are always a bit, they're like the pretentious versions of metalheads. Because most of the time metalheads are like, oh, do you like metal? I like metal, cool. But like goths are like, oh no, that's not goth. I am more goth than you. It gets a bit bullshitty sometimes. The
third lesson that I've learned is that you will grow and evolve into god. You don't start out being a god queen the way I am today. This has taken over 10 years of evolving, about experimenting, from trying things that I wasn't sure if I would like or not. And that's normal. You grow into these things. And even now I'm still growing. It's a lifelong journey, and it's something that you have to be willing to partake in, because you can aim to be as perfect as you want to be, but it's not something that is necessary. It's not an obligation. It's not something that you have to do. And just evolving over those years, not being ashamed if you suddenly like a band that beforehand you said you didn't really like the music of. That's normal. I also have evolved. When you would have asked me at the beginning of me going to god events what my favorite band was, then I would have probably told you it was Combichrist or something. Nowadays, my music taste is so much wider that I cannot even give a definitive answer to that question. So it's really just about being yourself, staying true to yourself, and evolving, and not being ashamed if you suddenly change opinions on something, because that's just normal. The fourth thing that I've learned is that my blacks will not always match and that no one cares. I would personally sometimes be like, ooh, but what if my outfit doesn't match with my hair color and stuff? No one cares. Everyone is so busy with what they are doing that they don't really look that closely at you, or at others at least. So if I would be wearing 3 different types of black, first of all, in a goth club, you won't even notice. Second of all, in a concert, you won't notice. It's only outdoors that you, maybe in good sunlight, will see it. And it's not like it's a fashion show. You don't have to worry all that much. I think if you would worry less about your blacks matching and just have more fun, that you will have a way better time.
On the blacks not matching, that's so true. No one actually cares but you. And I have a funny story with about 4 or 5 of my friends once, and we were out and nobody knew it. We went out for a party one night and we stayed over someone's house, and we were on the way home sort of walk of shaming it in the daylight the next day, and we all realised that our jeans were actually green because they'd faded from being the black they were when we bought them, and you couldn't tell in the dark, but in the sunlight they were all green. So there's 4 of us walking along with band t-shirts, our long leather trench coats and all of that stuff, and we're actually wearing really green jeans the entire time, and nobody knew because we were in the dark. So until you get out in the light, bright daylight, you can't see that your blacks don't match, and nobody else cares. Black's black, and whether it's slightly off doesn't matter.
The 5th thing that I've learned, I had to learn the hard way, and it is your outfit might fall apart on the dance floor. I'm talking about hair extensions falling out, dreadlocks not staying put, outfits ripping apart if you buy them too small or if you try to make them yourself. I've also had demonias break on me, I've had shoes falling apart, so I've had it all happen to me. It's unavoidable. And that's also why I always have a spare outfit, but also everyone has had it happen. It's not something to be very ashamed of. It's not something that you have to leave the party for. It's something that happens, unfortunately, to a lot of us. I used to have a blue hair false with dreadlocks on it, synthetic dreads. They were attached to an elastic that I had then tied around my hair. But the dreads were just folded over, so they weren't actually good attached or very well attached. So they would just drop out of my hair if I was moving too much. I think at that evening I had 3 people come and pick up dreads and give them back to me, and then I decided to just simply take them out. You will also have mishaps with your makeup. My makeup started running at one point, creates an extra intense goth look, but still it wasn't what I had intended.
Outfits falling apart is more of a girl's problem than a boy's problem, I'm going to say. I've had stuff rip, like t-shirts and shirts, and you have buttons off of coats and things. Occasionally I've seen men rip their trousers, but demonia boots I have seen fall apart on the dance floor. I've seen girls dancing around and then their platform just snapped clean off, so this is why I never buy demonia. People may love them, but they don't last. They're not new rock. They're just... My new rocks have never broken on a dance floor, no matter how much I've smashed them around, and I've never seen anyone's new rocks break from being smashed on the dance floor. I've seen latex and PVC stuff for girls rip. One of my girlfriends had like a rubber dress. She went to the toilet, she came back and she had put her hand through it. Luckily enough, I had my long coat with me in the club, not in the coat room, and I just let her wear my long coat for the rest of the night. No one else would have known. But yeah, stuff gets damaged. Be careful with what you buy.
The 6th thing that I've learned that is super important, and that if you maintain something from this video, it is that brands do not matter. Brand names do not matter. I have gorgeous pieces of clothing that I found at thrift stores that have no name tag, no brand name in it. However, they are super pretty and I wear them all the time. And the same goes to your outfits. If you have something that you really enjoy wearing that isn't by a brand, who cares? Now, of course, if you want to own specific items by brands, I would highly recommend also shopping secondhand, because on eBay, on Vinted, on Poshmark, on similar websites, you can often find them very heavily discounted. And I personally think it's a better way of supporting the clothing industry than to buying it brand new. The dress I'm wearing today is a lip service dress. This is a God brand. Yes, I know. However, I bought it secondhand a few years ago. This has been in my collection for 5 years at least, and it's one of my favorite dresses. So also, don't feel bad for constantly wearing the same thing. If it's something that you enjoy wearing, then you should wear it. Just wash it in between wears.
Also completely agree that brand names don't matter. I know I'm wearing Killstar here, but I'm also wearing a WWE t-shirt, and I will wear this out just as much as the Killstar or Primark. No one can tell if your plain black t-shirt comes from Primark or fucking Gucci. If it's a plain black t-shirt, it's a plain black t-shirt. But the brands don't matter. It's best to shop for them in the sales, or like she said, in eBay or anywhere you can get them second hand. But yeah, thrift store stuff is just as good as anything else. Clothes are clothes. It doesn't matter what brands it all is. The only reason I buy stuff that's brands is because so far those brands have lasted. I've got stuff from Raven and SDL that are still being used today, and I bought them in 2004. So, brands don't really matter. It's how good they were. Cyberdog used to be really good, but their quality over the years started to be really shit. So I found the quality dipped, and I haven't bought anything from Cyberdog in over 10 years.
Seventh thing on my list is that goths are not as sad or as depressed as you sometimes might think. We are about the same as normal people. Normal people are also sad and depressed sometimes. It's just what life gives us.
Sometimes worse.
And it's not different if you're God or not. I mean, we openly discuss these topics, whereas someone else might be just bunching it up and not talking about it and then crashing and breaking down. God is just a subculture, a music-based subculture, and not a form of depression or anxiety or sadness. No, not at all. We just openly talk about it. And that's the main difference with regular people who will just hide it or try and hide it and just be sad behind closed doors. We openly talk about our feelings more often and express them and actually work through them, which is obviously way healthier. If you look at my content, I hope that you see that I'm a very happy God. I am a very optimistic person, and I tend to be very happy most of the time. So that's also what I want to give to you, is that you are happy within your subculture. And if you're part of the subculture, that you feel like this is your home, your safe space, and that you can actually be happy here. The eighth thing on my list is that we don't spend as much time in graveyards and cemeteries as people might think. Okay, I have to admit, to some point, I love the aesthetics of cemeteries and graveyards. However, I don't go there every weekend. I don't do all of my photo shoots there. I do a few, but I'm not at a graveyard every single weekend, or not even every single month, which is something that people overemphasize when thinking about the God scene. And it's also something like the God picnics is not something that I have ever actually done. So I think the media overemphasizes some very small trinkets or very small parts of the God subculture, and picnics and dates at graveyards is especially one of them.
I feel a little called out here because I do graveyard tours and walks around my local graveyards, but I like walking around them. I'm not hanging out in them all the time. You're not going to find me in there all the time. You want to look at a local pub where my rock night goes, and you might find me there more. But graveyards, man, just go around, take some pictures, whatever, it's cool. But we don't hang out in graveyards. I've never known anyone to actually have a picnic in a graveyard or go on a date in a graveyard. Might be a cool idea if you were making a film, but nah, the graveyard thing, she's right.
The ninth tip on my list is that you don't have to date a god to be happy. And this is something that I have felt very weirdly about, or very opinionated about, is that people in the god scene tend to date people in the god scene, which to some level I get it. However, it is a very small pool of people, and you might find someone that is your partner, your ideal perfect partner. However, there's a lot of douchebags as well. I'm not gonna go too far onto that, but just as in other people, other subcultures, you will have very loyal, honest people, but you will also have cheaters and disloyal people. And it's up to you to find out if you want to date someone within the god scene or not. I personally am together with someone for almost 2 years now that is not in the god scene at all. However, we match on almost everything else we have in common. So the fact that he doesn't go to God parties or doesn't listen to God music is not a deal breaker for me at all. He respects me as a person, he actually loves the way I look when I dress this way, and he will never discourage me from being myself. And same goes for him. I will never discourage him from being himself. I will not force him into wearing black because that's what I prefer. No, he has to stay his own person. And I think that's very important. If you want to date a God girl, don't date a God girl because she's God and then try and change her to something that you like as well. And it is something that I hope that some of you realize sooner, is that you don't have to date a God if you are a God, because it's just a very toxic environment sometimes.
This I'm gonna have to disagree on. I've tried to date normal girls, and I mean normal by not part of the alternative community in any way. And they've asked me to cut my hair, stop painting my nails, don't wear makeup, don't wear those t-shirts, don't wear so much jewellery, you'd look better if you did this, you'd look better if you did that. No. One of them actually had me doubt myself so much that for the first time in the 18 years that I've been doing this, I actually own really blue jeans, and like I bought blue jeans, brown boots, a load of white and grey and different kind of blue t-shirts and stuff, and I actually thought that would help, and she still ghosted me and fucked off anyway. So normal people, whatever, have been worse for me than the alternative girls. The alternative girls, yeah, they've never tried to change me in a physical way like that. So it's just different people, I guess.
And then the final thing that I've learned these past 10 years is that festivals, concerts and parties are always too short. I always want to spend more time at them, stay there, have more fun, but they're always a little bit short in my opinion. Of course, the Wave Gothic Treffen is an entire week, but I'm always longing for more. And that's something that is actually a very big positive that I notice, because I always really look forward to these events. And now that COVID is finally calming down, we have events again to look forward to. So by the end of this year, I will be on my dance floors again. By the end of this year, I will see bands again, or at least I hope. I'm really touching wood here that it will happen. But it's something that I really enjoy. Events are so much fun, and I always want to see more bands. I always want to discover more music, more different styles, more different people. I love the subculture as a whole, and the music is the most important thing. So for me, the music will always be key, and I always want more of it. These are the 10 things that I learned in spending over 10 years in the God subculture. I hope that you found this a fun, enjoyable video. Of course, if you're part of the God subculture, feel free to let me know what are your things that you have learned over these years. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? I would love to know.
That's why I made this
Give this video a big thumbs up if you liked it, and of course, don't forget to subscribe to my channel for weekly videos.